If you're not gonna be me, you're not gonna be anyone.
At long last, it's time to put the villains of Pixar's newest films on trial. We have 4 Pixar movies to cover today, but of all the movies in Pixar's library that we've looked at, these films might just have the most diverse set of villains yet. And honestly, many of the villains we'll be looking at today aren't even straightforward villains. You have some characters only trying to do the right thing, minor antagonists, and heroes who become villains, making for one of the most unique Pixar villain sentencing videos yet. So without any further introduction, let's see which of these villains are getting off easy, and which ones we just have to throw the book at. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is sentencing Pixar villains for their crimes.
Come with me.
First on the docket today, let's take a look at the lone villain of Pixar's second 2020 outing, Soul. Everyone please welcome Terry to the stand. A resident of the U Seminar and a bureaucrat in every sense of the word, Terry is focused on one thing and one thing only: finding Joe and stopping him from escaping. While she fails in most of her attempts, she does eventually capture both him and 22, and would have likely dealt with Joe herself if it wasn't for the Jerrys deciding to intervene.
Gotcha!
As you can see, Terry might be an antagonist, but she isn't an outright villain. The only crime we can realistically charge her with is kidnapping, but even that was done because it was her job, and not to achieve some sort of nefarious goal. So with all that in mind, we've decided to put Terry on house arrest, since her sole crime only happened because she was devoted to her job, albeit to an extreme amount. We just can't justify giving her any sort of genuine sentence. Besides, some time to relax at home may be what Terry needs to chill out and loosen up just a bit. One can only hope. Moving on to our second Pixar movie, we get to their only 2021 film, Luca. Welcome the egotistical, the narcissistic, the pompous Ercole Visconti, a teenager who lives in the town of Porto Rosso. Ercole loves racing about as much as he loves being arrogant. When the time comes once again for the Porto Rosso Cup, Visconti is ready to win once again, no matter what the cost.
For losers!
As a classic bully character, Ercole relishes the opportunity to tease Luca, Alberto, and Giulia. The bullying of these three could easily be considered harassment, and as the film progresses, Ercole's interactions with them grow darker and darker. First, he becomes guilty of conspiring after he tries to cheat his way to victory during the race. More concerning, however, is that he tries to kill both Luca and Alberto. He'll truly do anything if it means it will get him an easy win, no matter how diabolical it is. Overall, considering his crimes and the severity of them, we sentence Ercole Visconti to 10 years in prison with the possibility of parole. Admittedly, you could make the argument he should get an even harsher sentence, as he was repeatedly endangering several children, but considering he is only a teenager himself, we'll let him off with a slightly lighter sentence. He'll still have plenty of time to grow and reflect before getting out of prison, and luckily for him, he'll get out a young man. Though whether or not he'll change is entirely up for debate. We're getting closer and closer to wrapping up as we look at the villains of Pixar's final 2022 film, Turning Red. Our first character from this movie is not at all a villain, but definitely an antagonist, introducing the mother of Mei Lin, Ming Lee. Out of all the antagonistic forces Pixar has created over the years, Ming Lee has got to be the most unique out of all of them. She's not trying to ruin anyone's life or cause harm. She's actually trying to do the exact opposite, having a strained relationship with her own mother. Ming Lee tries not to have history repeat itself when she becomes a mother herself. Unfortunately, her overprotective parenting style backfires on her, and she finds herself in the same situation she worked so hard to prevent.
How was school today?
While being a strict and overprotective parent can be a bit of a drag, it's not exactly something that you can try a person for in a court of law. So while Ming Lee might be the film's central antagonist, there isn't exactly a whole lot we can charge her for. The one exception is that we could probably charge her with some property damage following her transformation into the panda, but even that was an accident more than anything else. Because of an all-around lack of crimes tied to her character, as well as her good intentions, Ming Lee has earned herself a pardon. All she needs is to have a better connection with her family, and that's not something that's going to be solved by tossing her into a jail cell. A pardon will help more than any other punishment, and that's why she gets it. Besides, she could probably just transform into a giant red panda again and break the jail. While Ming Lee might be the main antagonist of Turning Red, she isn't the film's villain. That title actually goes to an entire army, the Mongols. Though they are only mentioned in the film via exposition, the Mongol army plays a vital role in the overall story of the film. After wiping out all the men in Sun Yi's village, they continued onward with the plans to do the same to the village's women. Luckily, Sun Yi was granted the powers of the Red Panda, and it was that turn of events that both saved the village and wiped out the Mongols. Though their story consists of only a few sentences, those couple words indict them on grounds of mass murder, attempted murder, and invasion. While sentencing an entire army isn't exactly possible, we can at the very least sentence their commanders. And in that case, we give their high command our first death penalty of this video. It isn't every day you get a Pixar villain who has committed mass murder, and for that reason alone, we feel justified in handing out this sentence to the Mongol army. And considering the period they come from, this sentence will come in a far more gruesome manner than most. For many in the Mongol Empire, executions were carried out by breaking the back to prevent any bloodshed. And unfortunately for the rest of our docket, this won't be the only death sentence in today's video. It's time to go to infinity and beyond because we've reached the villains of Pixar's most recent film, Lightyear. You can't have Buzz Lightyear without this film's central villain, and the first from the movie we'll be looking at, Emperor Zurg. An evil future counterpart to Buzz, Emperor Zurg looks far more dangerous than his toy counterpart, and his crimes are a lot worse than his too. Like his toy, however, Zurg is obsessed with trying to destroy Buzz Lightyear. He kidnaps him, and also tries to kill him and his friends in the Galactic Alliance on multiple occasions throughout the film. Beyond that, Zurg desires to change the timeline for his benefit, regardless of what atrocities tampering with time could lead to.
I'm sorry.
When you think of a crime like that, this version of Zurg quickly becomes one of Pixar's most evil characters to date. His attempt to rewrite time could have easily erased many, if not all, of the beings within the universe, making him the only villain of the day to be guilty of genocide. Easily the most diabolical villain of this era of Pixar. Emperor Zurg is a force to be reckoned with, and as such, is another villain who earns the death penalty. Zurg's actions could have led to the destruction of space and time itself, and with such an offense sitting on his shoulders, it's hard to say that Zurg deserves an easier sentence. Who knows how such a punishment will be employed in the future, but we're sure it will be anything but pleasant. If we were him, we'd probably want to go back in time to before we started making all of these decisions. Zurg isn't alone in his evil plans, however. Backing him up is a loyal legion of robots known as the Zyclops. These robots help Zurgi carry out his missions and are the main henchmen Buzz finds himself facing off against. Like any good villainous sidekick, the two are guilty of aiding Zurg in his plans, so that's already one charge on the list. Their skirmishes with Buzz Lightyear make them guilty of not only assault, but also attempted murder. And last but not least, they cause plenty of destruction over the course of their missions, adding the destruction of property to their final list. The Zyclops, as evil as they are undoubtedly loyal to Zurg, but in the end, that loyalty only ends up giving them the death penalty just like him. How will such a penalty be carried out on futuristic robots? Who knows? But if we had to guess, it would probably involve a conveyor belt and a lot of smashing. Say hello to the nearest landfill because that's where they'll end up being a permanent resident.